Crossing Continents was presented and produced by Angus Crawford. Next week, Rosie Goldsmith goes on the road with Nicky Vendola, the gay poet who's tipped to revolutionise Italian politics.
Thank you for downloading the Crossing Continents podcast. This week, Lucy Ash discovers why 6 young men in Russia's Far East waged a guerrilla war with the police.
A kidnapped boy cowers on the floor, terrified. Who will rescue him? A man in a black mask crashes through the window, shoots a man dead and rescues the child. In this Russian TV thriller, a brave policeman is the hero. And the villains? Well, they're police too.
In the first episode, the man kidnapped a child and he was acquitted because he has a great record. And the investigator who caught him, his boss told him, don't investigate anymore, this is your money. Stop it.
So he gave him a bribe to stop investigating.
A bribe, yeah. But he didn't take it. He decided to punish the criminal by himself.
Vlad Pavlov, a young Moscow actor, plays a cop in a series called Miech, or The Sword. It's about a group of honest policemen and prosecutors determined to fight corruption in the ranks in a country where security and justice are for sale. The popular TV drama is a fantasy of revenge against the worst of the police. This summer, that fantasy turned into violent reality.
You are the real criminals. You provide cover for drug trafficking, prostitution, and the theft of wood from our forest.
4 young men dressed in army camouflage face a shaky camera. One is stripped to the waist, another wears a baseball hat, and they're all holding guns. Their targets are the police.
We are the honest people, and you are scum. So we will fight you till the end. We are not afraid of you because justice is on our side.
This video, the last interview of the Primorsky partisans, was posted on the internet last month. It was removed from the server several times but kept resurfacing. In this week's Crossing Continents, I explore how complaints about small-town police thuggery sparked off an extreme chain of events in which a group of young men took the law into their own hands. The authorities were shocked both by the crimes and by the wave of public support for the renegades. This story, which transfixed Russia last summer, began in the village of Kirovsky in Primorie, Russia's far eastern maritime region, 7 time zones from Moscow. We've been in the car now for about 5 hours, driving north from Vladivostok. We're going along the edge of the Tiger. I can see on my right some rolling hills that are covered in ash and cedar trees, and closer there's lots of feathery grass growing in ditches with the early sprinkling of snow. And on the left-hand side, a few miles away, is the Chinese border. This is actually the main road in the Primorie region, but you wouldn't know it from the state of it because in places the tarmac's so rutted that it feels a bit like a farm track. And it feels like we're going somewhere very remote indeed. And I think now finally we seem to be approaching the village. bus stop, I meet a man in his 50s with crooked teeth and a deeply lined face. He's Vladimir Savchenko, father of Roman, the youngest member of the Primorsky partisans. Vladimir takes me to his home on the ground floor of a decrepit block of flats, where washing lines flap over rusting balconies. As his wife makes some coffee, Vladimir, a truck driver, asks about our journey. He complains about the hefty bribes demanded on the roads in Primoria. If he doesn't pay up, he says they confiscate his license. But he's bitter about more than the greed of the traffic police.
My other son, Valentin, died in a police station 9 years ago. He was in a fight. They brought him into the police station and left him without any medical assistance. The police just threw him into a cell at night and he was dead by the next morning. Maybe they beat him again in bed, I don't know. No policeman was punished.
So did you complain to the police?
My mother-in-law and I wrote letters to them, but nothing happened.
Vladimir then takes me into a room opposite the kitchen. This is Roman's bedroom, and on the sofa there are the toys he must have played with as a little boy, a stuffed monkey and a teddy bear. And on the other wall there's 5 medals because Vladimir says his son Roman was a very good sportsman. Kickboxing was his favourite sport. So how did this model teenager get on the wrong side of the authorities and become an outlaw behind bars? It began this spring, says Vladimir, after a house was burgled and local police pointed the finger at Roman.
He was accused of stealing a lawnmower and a saw. I said, why would you want to take that stuff? We've got our own at home. He did not commit that crime. The police wanted him to say he did, so they pulled him into the station and roughed him up. After all that beating, he ended up joining the group with this other young guys.
By now, relatives of the other young guys, there were 6 partisans in total, have gathered in Vladimir's pokey living room. They too want to talk about how their sons, brothers and boyfriends were persecuted by local police. Sergei Sukharada, a soft-spoken man in his 50s, describes how his son Andrei, a friend of Roman's, first got into trouble.
When he was a kid at school, they wanted to march across the village with a flag.
The flag the 13-year-olds were flying wasn't the Russian flag. It had a swastika on it. That's offensive anywhere, but especially provocative in Russia, where so many millions lost their lives fighting